On a distant desert planet, the sun blazed fiercely in the sky, casting long shadows across endless dunes. A little alien girl, no older than 7, stumbled through the hot sand, her small feet leaving tiny prints behind. Her green eyes shone with fear and confusion. Her thin arms clutched a torn piece of cloth around her. She had been left behind by her stepmother, a cruel alien woman who did not care for her. The wind howled across the barren landscape, carrying her soft cries far and wide. Each sound echoed like a lonely song, hoping someone, anyone, would hear her. The girl's name was Lyra, and she had never known safety, only loneliness and hunger. She shivered as a gust of hot wind swept across her face, sand sticking to her hair and skin. Her stomach growled, empty from days without food or water. Lyra looked around, hoping to see a sign of life, anything that could help her. The desert stretched endlessly, a sea of gold and orange, empty and unforgiving. Suddenly, a strange hum filled the air, soft at first, almost like a whisper. Lyra froze, her heart racing, unsure if it was a friend or danger. From behind a distant dune, a figure appeared, small against the vast horizon, moving slowly toward her. It was a human, dressed in strange clothes, with a strange metal device hovering near him. He seemed cautious, raising his hand slightly as he approached. The alien girl's heart pounded in her chest, fear and hope colliding inside her. She wanted to run, but her small legs were too weak from hunger and exhaustion. The human stopped a few meters away, kneeling down so he was closer to her level. He spoke softly, words she did not understand, but his voice was gentle, not threatening. The little girl tilted her head, listening carefully, sensing no danger in his tone. He reached out a hand, holding a small container of clear liquid. Lyra hesitated, unsure if she could trust him, but her thirst won over her fear. She stepped forward slowly and drank, feeling the cool water soothe her burning throat. The human smiled, a warm and kind smile, one she had never seen before. He pointed to the metal device hovering above him, pressing buttons, and a small light blinked. Lyra watched curiously, forgetting her fear for a moment, fascinated by the strange machine. The desert wind blew around them, sand swirling, creating patterns that danced in the air. The little girl's tears mixed with the sand, sparkling under the blazing sun. The human noticed her tears and gently wiped them away with his sleeve. Lyra blinked, unsure of what to feel, but a small spark of trust grew inside her heart. She took a hesitant step closer, letting him guide her away from the empty dunes. The hum of the device grew louder, and the girl realized it could take her somewhere safe. Her tiny hand slipped into the human's hand, and for the first time, she felt a little less alone. Together, they moved across the sands, stepping carefully over rocks and soft dunes. The desert seemed alive, whispering secrets as the wind blew, carrying distant sounds. Every step they took was full of uncertainty, the unknown stretching ahead like a vast ocean. But Lyra felt a strange hope, something she had never felt before, deep inside her chest. She glanced up at the human, who seemed determined and strong, a protector in this endless desert. The sky above was bright and hot, twin suns casting golden light over everything. Lyra took a deep breath, holding onto the human's hand tightly. She did not know where he would take her, but she knew she had to follow. Somewhere beyond the dunes, beyond the heat and the sand, a new adventure was waiting. The little alien girl's cries had been heard at last, and someone had come to answer them. For the first time in her young life, Lyra felt a flicker of hope, small but real. And as they walked together across the vast, golden desert, the wind carried their footsteps far and wide. A new story had begun, one of survival, trust, and the bond between a human and an alien child. Ethan guided Lyra carefully across the shifting dunes, the hot sand burning their feet. The little alien girl clung to his hand tightly, her green eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. Every shadow seemed to hide danger, and every whisper of wind made her shiver. Ethan glanced at her, offering a reassuring smile, though he knew they were not yet safe. He carried a small device on his chest, scanning the environment, detecting movement and energy. Lyra's ears twitched as she listened to the strange hums, her instincts telling her something was near. Suddenly, she froze, pointing ahead with trembling fingers. A large sand dune shifted slightly, revealing strange footprints leading toward them. Ethan crouched low, studying the tracks carefully, his heart pounding. "They're not alone," he whispered softly, his voice steady but urgent. Lyra's hands gripped his sleeve, her small body trembling, but she did not turn away. The desert wind picked up, carrying distant mechanical noises that grew louder. Ethan knew it was the raiders, relentless scavengers who hunted anyone unusual. He pressed a button on his device, and a holographic map of the area flickered before them. It showed a safe path through the dunes, narrow and hidden from above. "Follow me," Ethan said gently, and Lyra nodded, trusting him completely. As they moved, Lyra's curiosity grew, and she peeked at the humans' strange equipment. She had never seen technology like this, lights blinking and screens displaying moving symbols. Ethan noticed her gaze and explained simply, "This helps us stay safe, helps us know where to go." Lyra's small fingers reached out, touching the device lightly, feeling a faint warmth. The bond between them strengthened, a quiet understanding forming without words. But the distant noises grew louder, metal scraping against sand, engines roaring. Ethan quickened his pace, keeping low, leading her through a narrow valley hidden between dunes. They stumbled across a shallow crevice, perfect for hiding, and crouched low behind rocks. From there, they could see the raiders, monstrous machines moving relentlessly, scanning for energy signatures. Lyra's eyes widened, her small hands trembling, but Ethan held her close, whispering, "It's okay, we'll get through this, stay close and follow me." She nodded, her fear mixing with a spark of determination she had never felt before. The raiders paused for a moment, sensing something unusual, their sensors sweeping the valley. Ethan held his breath, knowing one wrong move could reveal them instantly. The little girl squeezed his hand, and he felt a surge of courage, protective and fierce. He pressed another button on his device, a small barrier rising briefly, hiding their presence from the raiders' sensors. Time slowed as they waited, sand shifting around them, the sun beating down relentlessly. Finally, the raiders moved on, continuing their patrol, unaware of the hidden pair. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him, and Lyra hugged him tightly, a silent gesture of trust. "We need to keep moving," he said softly. "There's a safe place not far from here." Lyra nodded, stepping carefully after him, her small feet leaving shallow prints behind. The desert stretched before them, harsh and unforgiving, but hope burned brighter than fear. Together, human and alien, they moved forward, the first true connection between two worlds forming. And though danger still lingered, for the first time, Lyra felt she might survive. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long, golden shadows, painting the desert with light and dark. Every step they took carried them closer to safety, and closer to the adventures that awaited. For the cries of a little alien girl had reached one human, and that was only the beginning. Ethan and Lyra had just begun moving across the dunes when a deep rumble shook the ground. The little alien girl froze, her green eyes wide with terror, clutching Ethan's hand tightly. In the distance, massive shadows appeared, dark against the golden desert, moving with unnatural speed. Sand raiders, merciless scavengers, had found them, drawn by the girl's unique energy. The machines were enormous, towering over the dunes, their metal legs crushing sand as they advanced. Ethan's heart raced, knowing they had only moments to act. He grabbed Lyra's small hand and ran, his long strides carrying them over loose sand and rocky paths. The little girl stumbled, but Ethan lifted her gently, urging her to keep moving. Dust clouds rose around them, blinding and suffocating, yet they pressed on, determined to survive. Lyra's crystal pendant glowed faintly, reacting to the approaching danger. Ethan noticed it and whispered, "Hold on to this, it might help us." She clutched it tightly, feeling warmth spread through her small body. The raiders were relentless, their sensors scanning every inch, engines roaring like beasts. A sudden gust of wind kicked up sand in their faces, forcing them to crouch and move cautiously. Ethan spotted a narrow canyon ahead, its entrance hidden by jagged rocks, a possible escape. He pulled Lyra toward it, urging her to run faster, her legs shaking but fueled by fear and hope. The canyon walls rose high on either side, casting deep shadows, giving them some cover. The raiders followed, their massive forms squeezing after them, metal grinding against rock. Lyra's ears twitched as she sensed the machine's energy, her small body trembling but refusing to stop. Ethan led them through a maze of rocks, making sudden turns to confuse the pursuers. Sand shifted underfoot, threatening to slow them. But he kept moving, every second critical. The canyon narrowed, forcing the raiders' machines to slow down, giving them a slight advantage. Lyra's crystal began glowing brighter, pulsing with a strange rhythm. Ethan realized it was reacting to the raiders, a hidden power waiting to be used. They reached a small alcove, hidden from the raiders' sensors, and crouched behind jagged rocks. The machines stomped past, oblivious to the tiny figures hiding just out of reach. Lyra leaned against Ethan, exhausted, but her eyes shone with determination. He whispered, "We made it this far, but we can't stop now." Together, they navigated deeper into the canyon, the walls twisting like a labyrinth. The desert outside raged with heat and sand, but inside the canyon, they found a fragile moment of safety. Ethan studied the map on his device, plotting a path forward, careful to avoid more traps. Lyra clutched her glowing crystal, listening to the hum of approaching danger. Even in the quiet, the desert seemed alive, whispering warnings, carrying echoes of their chase. Every step they took was measured, cautious, and full of hope. They both knew the raiders would not give up easily. But for now, human and alien had survived another deadly encounter. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with gold and red, Lyra finally allowed herself a small smile, trusting Ethan completely for the first time. The desert had tested them, but together, they were stronger, ready for whatever came next. The canyon was quiet now, the hot wind outside replaced by cool shadows. Lyra leaned against a jagged rock, her small body trembling from the chase. Ethan knelt beside her, offering water and soft words, his voice calm and steady. "Are you okay?" he asked, watching her eyes, green and bright under the fading sun. She nodded slowly, but her hands clutched something beneath her cloth, a small crystal. Ethan noticed it glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra looked up at him, fear and curiosity mixing in her gaze. "It's my gift," she whispered, barely audible. "I can sense energy, see danger, and feel life around me." Ethan's eyes widened, realizing how special this little girl truly was. He reached out gently, letting her show him the crystal, which responded to his touch. It pulsed brighter, as if recognizing him, sending small sparks of light into the shadows. Lyra explained that the raiders had wanted her for her gift. They hunted anyone unusual, anyone with power they could exploit. Ethan's heart sank, understanding the danger they were in and how much trust she had placed in him. The little girl's voice trembled. "I never had anyone before. I thought I would die alone." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore. Lyra, I will protect you." The canyon walls seemed to close in, shadows stretching across the glowing sand crystals. Lyra's crystal pulsed faster, sensing the residual energy of the raiders that had chased them. Ethan realized it could be a weapon, but also a beacon if used incorrectly. He studied it carefully, trying to understand how it worked, the patterns of light and energy. Lyra watched him, hope and fear in her eyes, trusting him to help her control it. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the canyon, a whisper of movement. Ethan and Lyra froze, listening, their hearts pounding. It was not the raiders, but something else, something ancient, hidden in the canyon. Lyra whispered, "I think this place, it knows me," her voice full of wonder and fear. Ethan scanned the area with his device, detecting faint energy readings, unusual and old. The walls of the canyon shimmered as if alive, reflecting the crystal's light. Lyra's memories stirred, flashes of her family, her home, and a past she barely remembered. Ethan realized this place was more than a hiding spot. It was a sanctuary, perhaps built for someone like her. The little girl's hands glowed, small sparks leaping from the crystal as she experimented cautiously. Ethan guided her, showing how to focus, how to control the pulses. Her fear slowly turned into determination, her eyes shining with newfound strength. "This is just the beginning," Ethan said softly. "We have to survive, and then we'll figure out everything. Lyra nodded, taking a deep breath, letting the warmth of the crystal fill her. Outside, the desert winds continued to howl, but inside the canyon, a small light of hope burned bright. The bond between human and alien had grown stronger, forged in the fires of danger and trust. Together, they began to explore deeper into the canyon, uncovering hidden passages and symbols. Each step revealed more about Lyra's past and the secrets the desert had kept for centuries. The little girl's cries had led Ethan here, and now they were ready to face whatever came next. The canyon hummed softly, alive with power, as if acknowledging their courage. Lyra smiled faintly, feeling stronger, braver, and ready for the challenges ahead. And Ethan knew that protecting her was not just a choice. It was a mission that could change everything. Ethan led Lyra through the winding canyon paths, careful to avoid any traces of the raiders. The little alien girl clutched her glowing crystal, her eyes scanning every shadow and rock. The canyon opened into a hidden valley, almost invisible from the desert above. Ancient structures rose from the sand, half-buried and covered in strange markings. Lyra gasped, recognizing symbols from her past, memories stirring in her mind. This place, she whispered. I remember it, my family. Maybe they lived here. Ethan looked around, amazed by the ruins. Understanding this was no ordinary canyon. The buildings were built from a silver-like metal, weathered but still strong. Strange crystals protruded from the walls, glowing faintly, resonating with Lyra's own crystal. The air felt different here, cooler, filled with a soft hum of energy. Lyra's small feet barely touched the ground as she explored cautiously. Ethan followed, keeping watch, noticing signs of life long gone. The village seemed abandoned for centuries, yet it held a strange warmth. She led him to a central courtyard, where a circular platform sat, embedded with glowing runes. Lyra stepped closer, and the runes responded to her crystal, pulsing with light and sound. Ethan studied the pattern, realizing it could be a key, perhaps to unlock her abilities fully. Suddenly, shadows flickered among the ruins, movement too fast for the eye to follow. Lyra froze, whispering, "We are not alone, something is here." Ethan raised his device, scanning for life forms or hidden energy signatures. The sensors showed faint readings, old but active, resonating with Lyra's crystal. A sudden gust of wind carried whispers, voices from the past, echoing through the valley. Lyra's memories surged, images of her family, her home, and the raiders who had abandoned her. She took a deep breath, focusing on the crystal in her hands, feeling its warmth. Ethan whispered, "Stay calm, trust your gift, it will guide us." The little girl closed her eyes, letting the crystal's energy flow through her. Suddenly, the runes lit up fully, forming patterns in the air, a map of the village's secrets. Ethan's eyes widened, realizing the village held hidden chambers, safe spots, and tools. Lyra's heart raced, excitement and fear mixing, understanding this place might save her. They explored further, discovering corridors, stairways, and small rooms filled with ancient technology. Some rooms contained crystals similar to Lyra's, dormant but responsive to her energy. She reached out, touching one, and it hummed to life, sending waves of warmth across the floor. Ethan realized these were storage chambers, perhaps for people with powers like Lyra. The hidden village was a sanctuary, built to protect those who could not survive in the open desert. Lyra's small smile returned, hope growing brighter than ever. They spent hours exploring, learning about the village and its connection to her family. But even in this sanctuary, a shadow of danger lingered. The raiders would not give up easily, and Lyra's gift had drawn attention far beyond the canyon. Ethan knew they had found a temporary haven, but the desert outside still held countless threats. Lyra's crystal pulsed gently, reassuring her that she was not alone anymore. Together, human and alien, they began to understand the power hidden in the village. And as night fell, the valley glowed with soft crystal light, a safe place for the first time in years. The adventure was far from over, but for now, they had found a refuge and hope. The quiet of the hidden village was shattered by a distant roar. Lyra's ears twitched as she sensed energy signatures approaching fast. Ethan grabbed her hand, eyes narrowing as he scanned the valley. Sand raiders had found them, relentless and merciless, their massive machines cutting through dunes. The little girl's crystal pulsed rapidly, warning her of danger. Ethan checked his device, mapping the raiders' movement, calculating escape routes. "We have to defend this place," he said softly, "or they'll take you." Lyra nodded, gripping her glowing crystal, a mix of fear and determination on her small face. The raiders entered the canyon, their engines grinding, sensors scanning for energy. Ethan positioned himself behind a barricade of jagged rocks, preparing his weapons. Lyra followed, concentrating on the crystal, feeling the energy swirl within her. As the first raider machine appeared, Ethan fired, bright energy beams striking metal. The machine staggered but kept moving, relentless in its pursuit. Lyra focused, the crystal in her hands glowing stronger with each pulse. A wave of energy surged outward, pushing sand and small rocks at the raiders, slowing them down. Ethan realized her gift was a weapon, if used carefully and with control. Together, they formed a plan, using the village's ruins as traps and barriers. The raiders stomped forward, unaware of the ancient mechanisms hidden in the buildings. Lyra's crystal hummed, and small energy barriers formed around them, deflecting attacks. Ethan shouted instructions, guiding her to target weak points in the machines. With a surge of courage, Lyra released a pulse of energy, striking a raider's engine. It exploded in a shower of sparks and fire, throwing sand into the air. The remaining machines hesitated, giving Ethan time to fire precise energy blasts. Lyra's hands glowed brighter, each movement synchronized with Ethan's strategy. The canyon echoed with the sound of metal crashing, energy pulses, and the roar of the desert. Dust clouds rose, making visibility nearly impossible, but they pressed on, undeterred. One by one, the raiders fell, their engines smoking, sparks flying in every direction. Lyra felt her energy draining, but she continued, knowing survival depended on her courage. Ethan protected her, covering blind spots and disabling remaining threats. The last raider retreated, its sensors flickering, engines grinding as it fled the canyon. The valley fell silent, except for the hum of Lyra's crystal and their heavy breathing. Ethan knelt beside her, proud and relieved. "You did it, Lyra. You were incredible." The little alien girl's eyes shone with exhaustion and triumph, a smile forming on her lips. She hugged Ethan tightly, feeling the bond between them grow stronger. Though the battle was over, they knew the desert outside still held dangers. Their journey was far from complete, but they had survived the first great test. Lyra's crystal pulsed gently, as if thanking her for the courage and focus she had shown. Ethan looked at the glowing ruins around them, realizing the village was more than a sanctuary. It was a place of power, protection, and the beginning of something greater. The sun dipped low, painting the canyon in gold and red, shadows stretching long. For now, human and alien had triumphed together, but the adventure was just beginning. The desert was quiet now, the sun setting behind distant dunes, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Lyra sat beside Ethan on a large rock, her small hands still glowing faintly from the crystal. The hidden village lay behind them, its ruins silent, ancient, and full of secrets. For the first time in her life, the little alien girl felt safe, her fear replaced by cautious hope. Ethan studied the horizon, knowing the desert still held dangers, but feeling proud of their survival. "Tomorrow, we will move forward," he said softly, "and find a place where you can truly be safe." Lyra nodded, her green eyes reflecting the fading light, determination and trust shining within. She held her crystal close, feeling its warmth, a bond between her power and her heart. The canyon's walls seemed to hum softly, as if acknowledging her courage and the bond she shared with Ethan. She whispered her gratitude. "Thank you for not leaving me, for believing in me." Ethan smiled, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We look out for each other now, Lyra, always." The night fell, and stars emerged, twin moons rising above the dunes, casting silver light across the valley. Lyra pointed at the sky, fascinated, feeling connected to something bigger than herself. Ethan watched her, realizing how small moments could carry so much meaning. He knew their journey was just beginning, and that the galaxy held challenges far beyond this desert. But he also knew that together, they could face anything, human and alien united. The little girl's energy pulsed softly, resonating with the quiet strength Ethan felt. She had survived abandonment, danger, and fear, and now her courage was stronger than ever. Ethan thought of the raiders, of the threats lurking in the desert and beyond. But for now, the immediate danger had passed, leaving them with time to plan, to rest, to grow. Lyra's small voice broke the silence. "Do you think there are others like me?" Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe, and we will find them. We will protect them, together." She smiled faintly, imagining a future where she was not alone, where her gift could help others. The canyon glowed under the moon's light, crystals reflecting soft beams, painting the village in silver and blue. Ethan and Lyra sat side by side, watching the stars, listening to the desert wind. It was a moment of peace, fragile but real, a reward for surviving so much. The little alien girl felt hope swell inside her, a promise of adventure, friendship, and discovery. Ethan placed his hand over hers. "The galaxy is bigger than this desert, Lyra, and it's ours to explore." She squeezed his hand, feeling the trust and bond that had grown through danger and struggle. For the first time, she believed in a future where she could be safe, where she could belong. The hidden village behind them, the desert stretching ahead, they rose together, ready to face what came next. Ethan looked at Lyra, proud and protective, knowing this small alien girl held a power that could change everything. She looked at him, trusting him completely, knowing their story was only beginning. The night embraced them, quiet and full of promise, as they stepped toward the horizon. Every step forward was a choice, a journey, a new chapter of hope and survival. The cries of the little alien girl had been heard, and now, a human had answered. Together, they would write the next story, not of fear, but of courage, friendship, and adventure. And as the twin moons shone down, the desert seemed to whisper, carrying the promise of a new beginning.